Welcome to our latest episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm Kevin Blair, the Chief Lending Officer here at Washington Trust Bank.
And I'm Jim Branson, the Chief Banking Officer.
And joining us today is Troy Wunderlich, who is the bank's Director of Operational Risk. And our topic today is going to be on cybersecurity and fraud awareness. So Troy, as we've wrapped up 2022 and going into 2023, can you maybe talk about some of the things that we saw in the bank last year and as we go this year in both cybersecurity and fraud?
Yeah, certainly. I think it's important to kind of recap for 2022 what we've seen impacting our customers and the bank. And what we have done is really we've worked over 2,000 fraud loss cases in 2022, amounting to about $5 million. We were able to recover about half of that for our customers and for the bank. But in total, we've worked about $52 million in fraud type cases, and we've been able to prevent over 90% of that from impacting our customers and the bank in 2022.
So when you say 50 million and when we save 90%, how does the bank save that 90%?
A lot of it is with fraud prevention. It's awareness with our customers and businesses, but also just some of the tools and things that we have in place to detect fraud and to work with our customers to make sure that they don't become victims.
Speaking of awareness, it's a topic obviously that's near and dear to your heart. As it's really important that we make our customers aware to make sure that their information's safe, their customer information is safe, and their money is safe. Obviously, the landscape is continuously evolving as cyber criminals develop new scams and tactics. What are some of the top scams individuals should be looking out for?
So some of the top things have been debit and credit card fraud. Of course, elder abuse and elder fraud is still out there. And we see a lot with romance and online types of scams like that as well. And then, during the holiday season, there's always an uptick in those types of things. And this time of year, with the tax season coming up, we see scams around that where fraudsters will file on your behalf with the information that they've been able to glean from various data breaches and whatnot. So be aware, be watchful, mindful of what's happening. Some of the things you can do, of course, is make sure that you're not clicking on links, opening attachments in phishing emails and whatnot. Make sure that you are only responding to those things that you know of. Don't provide account information, passwords, PINs, things of that nature. Washington Trust and financial institutions will never ask for that type of information that they already have. So just things to keep in mind.
What about from the business side? So a lot of what you talked about was maybe on the consumer side, but from businesses, or do they have fraud attacks as well?
They do, and one of the top ones is business email compromise. So of those 2,000 cases I mentioned earlier, over 60 of those were business email compromise. And that's where the customer's email accounts have been compromised, either business or consumer. They do target both. On the business side, what that results then is wire fraud, ACH fraud, and what we've recently seen an uptick in is what we call vendor pay fraud. That's where the vendor's email was compromised. They intercept a message that's going from the vendor to the business customer, and then they replace that information with different pay instructions. And so it's always really important to have a process in place when you get those types of things. One, it's a red flag, but two, reach out to your vendor, verify and confirm that information. If they're changing an account number, they're requesting you to send a wire and ACH instead of using a method of check, which you've done before. It's always a great idea to call and verify that before you send a payment.
Are there other things businesses can do, spyware, or in order to make sure that they're not part of this email compromise?
Keeping your systems patched and up to date is very important. If you have some email security options, that will go through and filter out spam and malicious attachments, things of that nature, those are always really good. But just knowing what the red flags are with regard to phishing email, looking for those signs. It could be an urgent request. It looks like it's an email coming from somebody within the organization requesting a wire, things of those nature, especially right before a holiday. Things like that are always red flags, and it's always really good to verify. So just like I mentioned with your vendor, call and verify. If it's the CEO sending you an email to send a wire out, call and talk to them, especially if they're out of the office. Again, that's the time when they will try to implement those frauds and those scams.
Speaking of that, I know you and your cybersecurity team are always assessing the landscape and the situation and helping keep our clients safe and helping them when they fall victim to some of these scams. Can you think of any specific examples where you and your team have helped some of our clients that have had some of this cyber fraud?
Yeah, actually, a couple of examples. We had a customer who was a victim of business email compromise, and what happened in that situation was the fraudster took over the business's email account, and then they sent an email to the bank requesting a wire be transferred. We have procedures on our side, kind of going back to the prevention topic, where we made a call back to the customer to verify that wire. And of course, once talking to the customer, they said, "Hey, that wasn't us." That was about a $400,000 wire request that we stopped before it ever went out the door. So that was a great example. Another was similar, a business email compromise. It was on the vendor side, as I mentioned. It was a $900,000 invoice to be paid. The fraudster intercepted the email. The customer got the new payment instructions. They'd always paid this vendor with a check. The email was requesting it be a wire. They did send it out, but we were quick enough to work with the customer and the receiving bank that we got those funds frozen, and we got all but $100 back of that $900,000 wire request. So again, just those callback procedures, verifying those types of things is always a great measure to prevent the fraud from occurring.
And obviously super important timing, right? As fast as the customer sees or thinks there might be something wrong, timing is definitely super important, it sounds like.
Yeah. And Washington Trust, we're here to help and work with our customers. So the quicker we know, the faster we can respond. We can work with the receiving bank, law enforcement, FBI, and whatnot to get those funds recovered.
Well, that pretty much wraps us up for today. Troy, thanks for joining us. A lot of great pointers and hints there, both for individuals and for businesses. You can always visit with your banker at Washington Trust for more information. Troy's available as well, or on watrust.com. We have a lot of resources there as well.
We'll have another Let's Talk About It coming out very soon. But the most important thing is, if any of you have any questions or topics or anything of interest to you that you'd like to hear on this, please reach out and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.